Hello, I'm Mario DeSanto, and welcome to the third installment of this series, how to get a good cheap reverb sound, all while being a cheap. The first episode, we talked about using a spring reverb unit that's meant for hi-fi stereo systems, most commonly used when you're listening to records. In the second installment, we talked about running some of your tracks through a guitar amplifier to get a really gritty sound, really characterization on the track. And in this installment, we're going to talk about using an outboard mixing unit that has a built-in spring reverb. Now, there are many types of these mixing boards available on the market. You could get them at garage sales, estate sales, eBay, Craigslist, on and on. You can usually get them for dirt cheap. They have many uses, and they get some pretty cool spring reverb sounds sometimes. So today, we're going to mess around with that. I'm going to do a little testing. I'm going to show you a couple examples. A lot of the information I'm going to be going over today is going to be kind of surface level. I go into pretty detailed explanation in the second video where I talk about compression, EQ, which type of microphone to use, stuff like that. All that's still going to be applicable. So if you do not have that background on that, I recommend watching the second video, which goes into much more details about that specific stuff. Today, I'm going to be demonstrating this method using a Yamaha EM-150. I got this baby off Craigslist for $50 off this guy named Chris, super nice guy. I've been making great use of this thing for many instances. I use it for the spring reverb. I use it for PA and vocals. I use it for guitar sometimes. Like I'm saying, you know, get one of these for dirt cheap, and it's got many uses, so your money will not go wasted. Okay, so let's talk how to put this unit into action. Now, a lot of these mixing boards have line ins and line outs. If you want the most transparent sound, the easiest signal path, you're going to want to utilize this as much as possible. It's obviously extremely convenient if you're coming from your own mixing board, which got a line out to this line in, and then line out back to your mixing board. That is by far the easiest, get the cleanest sound, less sonic characterization as possible. In some cases, you'll be able to get a wet-only signal out, which will be really useful if you're just using this effect as a parallel effect on your track. For example, if you're running vocals through this and you want a parallel track that just has the reverb on it, you could use the wet-only signal out of this unit, and you won't be doubling up your main track. For today's demonstration, I'm going to ignore the line level and line ins altogether. Now I'm going to use the individual channel strip on the mixer. This way, I'm going to have a lot more control over the sonic qualities of the track that I'm going to be sending through it. One really important thing to keep in mind with an older unit like this is the inputs are not XLR inputs. They are usually high impedance quarter-inch jack inputs. So sometimes you could get away with not worrying about that by plugging it straight into your mixing board, but a reamp box definitely helps in this situation. One like this one right here, where you'd be passing a line level signal that's low impedance into it, and then on the output would be a high impedance output that would go into the mixing board. I'll be able to change the input gating for the amplifier in that channel strip, so I could either choose the line level option, the instrument level option, and the mic level option. So if I wanted as least gain as possible, I'd be using the line level. If I wanted the most gain as possible, I'd be using the microphone level, and if I want like a good medium mix of both, I'd be using the instrument option. I'll also be able to change the reverb to dry track ratio by using the channel strip using the reverb echo send knob. I'll also be able to change the EQ through the treble and bass knobs. And finally, there is a volume knob which controls the overall gain, and I could use that accordingly to get more gritty sound, more clean sound, whatever sound I'm looking for at the time. Now, these types of units are usually used for PA circumstances and are meant to be hooked up to speakers. I really like to utilize the speaker connections here. I think it gives you a really interesting sound. You also get not only the reverb, the spring reverb sound in the unit, you're also going to get some room sound from when you mic up these speakers. You could also use a variety of different speakers. Like, for example, I like to use these really undersized speakers on this unit to the point where they start to smoke when I push them really hard, and it gets a really nasty ass sound coming out of it in a good way. And there's so many options here. It's limitless. Have some fun with it. Try different speakers. Try little tiny speakers. Freaking blow them up if you got the money to throw around. Do whatever you want. Have some fun with it. Today I'm going to be using the small speakers I have and really pushing the levels. On this unit, like many others, not only is there an EQ control for each channel strip, there's also a mains out frequency band. And, this is extremely useful in shaping the sound you want when it's coming out of the speakers. And, it could change the characterization of the track very much. It could sound like a PA if you wanted to. It could sound really clean if you wanted to. You can make it sound like someone's underwater. You can make it sound like someone's on a telephone. The options are endless here, so definitely have some fun with that as well. You're definitely going to want to mess around with the compression settings going into this outboard unit. In the second installment of the series, I go into way more detail than right now, but it's definitely important in getting a sound that you're looking for. If you really want to squash that single, you're going to want to crank the compression so it's really compressed, and it kind of makes the reverb more set back in the mix. It's not so in your face, and like that's something like that's like really great for background vocals or background percussion, anything of that nature. The example I'm going to demonstrate today, I'm going to be putting vocals through this, and I'm going to be going for a really gritty sound, really live PA sound, a lot of room sound, a lot of spring reverb added. It's not supposed to sound too pretty. It's supposed to sound like you're in some gritty ass club in New York City or something, and there's freaking spit flying everywhere, and it's disgusting in there, right? So I'm gonna push the controls really hard here. I'm gonna mess with the EQ to get it where I want it, and hopefully with the way I mic it, I'm gonna mic it with I'm gonna back it off the speaker a little bit, and I'm going to use an omnidirectional mic to get a lot of this room sound, and hopefully in the end it kind of sounds like a PA type of sound. Sounds like you're in a basement somewhere, something like that. So let's see how that sounds now. Hopefully you like that. Let me know what you think. Like I said, there's many options you could take with an outboard piece of equipment like this. So, I could have went for the more hi-fi sound like we did in the first installment of this series. I just tend to have way too much fun with adding distortion and stuff. Now, I've also used this outboard equipment as a guitar amp before, and in this very similar setup, just plugged in right to the board here in the instrument padding level for the input gain, and I was cranking these tiny ass speakers, and I'm not joking, they literally started to smoke when I was recording this track. So it's a really just overdriven sound that it's not everyone's taste, but I like it, so deal with it. I'll play a quick example of that now. Inside the best, I wanna taste the blood within. So there you have it. For a couple bucks, you could get some fun equipment that you could do a lot of things with. You could use it as a reverb machine. You could use it as a PA, guitar amp. The opportunities are endless. I highly recommend it. Just go on Craigslist and you'll find something. I'm telling you. Don't pay too much for it. Buy a piece of junk. As they say, shitty is pretty, right? So I hope you guys enjoy this lesson. Please record something and send it to me. I always love to hear what you guys send me. My last video, a couple people sent me some stuff, so that was awesome. I hope to hear back from more of you. I hope to hear some suggestions. I hope to hear some criticisms. In my last video, I also got a lot of criticisms from some old tape heads that were in disagreement with the way I made the video, which is understandable. So if you think my shit's bad, let me know, and I try to learn from it, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.